Hello everyone, my name is Angelica and welcome to my channel. I'm super excited for my favorite time of the year. I promise to bring you plenty of beautiful and unique Christmas DIY projects this year. But for my first video in this series, I want to bring back some of my favorite Christmas DIY ideas from previous years. 10 different decor projects to choose from. So relax and let's get started with the first idea. This project is quite simple as you don't need any macrame skills to create it. The process is similar to creating macrame rainbows. I took 6mm thick cotton cord and measure how big I want my candy cane to be. And I cut 5 same length pieces of cord. To give the candy cane more steady shape and also create the bend, I'm adding a piece of wire between the cords. Using tape, I wrap all 6 parts together, at the top, middle part and bottom. I bend the wire to give the characteristic for candy cane curve. My first decoration, I will be wrapping in green yarn. I create the loop on the top of the cane, so now I have 2 ends of the yarn at the bottom. Going around with the yarn, I cover all cords plus 1 string of the green yarn. I make sure it's tightly wrapped and none of the white part is sticking out. After I wrap it in few times, I'm adding extra piece of cord which will go along the other cords. This will create the loop on the top of the cane so you will be able to hang it on the tree. Then I continue wrapping the green yarn all the way up. When I reach the beginning of the curve, I take my extra piece of cord and pull it away from the cane. I wrap the yarn few times around again and then I put my cord back to the cane. This way I created the loop. Once I reach the end, I create the knot to secure the green yarn. Ideally, I was going to secure it by closing the gathering knot I've created before, but the yarn was too fragile and I tear it by pulling it too hard. But wrapping 2 ends together will secure it as good. I remove the tape and cut the excess wire. Now it's time to add another color onto my candy cane. I pull the cord through the green yarn, starting from the bottom, and then I start wrapping it around the cane. I try to keep the same distance between each line for better finish. And to secure it at the other end, I pull it through the yarn again and close it with a knot. I brush out the cord and trim it nicely. It's a great Christmas tree ornament or you can hang it from your garland. There is many ways to use it in your Christmas decorating. To create paper snowflake, I need 6 pieces of 30 centimeters, 12 times 24, 12 times 18, 12 times 14, and 2 times 30 centimeters. Each strap is 2 centimeters wide. I draw them myself on the craft paper and I cut them out with the scissors. One part of the snowflake is made out of 1 30 centimeters piece, 2 24 centimeters, 2 18 centimeters and 2 14 centimeters long. Again, I use PVA glue and paintbrush to apply it. Because my craft paper has different color on both sides, I have to make sure that I always glue the same side. I put few centimeters of the glue and then close this shape. Then I do the same with another pair of the straps. I glue them so the top creates the loop and the bottom is straight and flat. The longest strap is the middle part. Then I put one strap from each group on one side. I put the same length of the glue but now on the outside part and attach it to the middle loop. I place it so the ends are matching. I squeeze it so the loops are going flat and then undo them slightly, so they still create the loops but more pointy than round. Altogether, I've created 6 of these shapes. Now I take my two 30 centimeters long pieces and roll them. Once the first one is rolled, I glue the second one to it and continue rolling. For quicker result, now I'm using hot glue. I make a line on my rolled up piece and attach the first piece. Second one I glue on the opposite side. Then I put the glue on the actual flake part and stick to the roll. You can create different sizes and colors. They are great to hang on your wall or window. I will need 3 different size star-shaped cutters. It will look better if they gradually go smaller. And the smallest one is big enough to fit the candle. Like always, I'm using Das air dry clay, but you can use whichever you have access to. I take quite a big piece of it and roll it out flat to the same thickness, which is about 5 millimeters. I take my cutter and create 3 stars. I remove them gently from the surface and tidy the corners. I tap them and smooth them out. Starting with the biggest one, I make few small cuts at its center part and then I take clay slip, which is basically mixture of clay and water, and apply small amount of it on the cuts. Take my middle-sized star and place it on top of it. I do the same with this one and then place the smallest one on top of it. Find round shape which size is similar to the candle end which you are going to use. Mine is not deep enough to go all the way through, so I do it in small parts. I take the excess clay out and then smooth out the inside part. Before I leave it to dry, I again tidy all the edges and the surface. Altogether, I've created 2 of them. After 2 days of drying, they are ready for the next step. You can always give them a slight sanding before painting. I went with the black color acrylic paint with some white and gold paint splash. To be honest, I don't think I ever seen before gnomes or the idea of using them for Christmas. This year they seem to be all over the place, and as they are coming from the Scandinavian Christmas tradition and they are also so cute, I've decided to make them as well. I take cardboard roll, I cut about 1 centimeter wide slices which give me nice circles. I take the yarn in the color I want the hats to be and cut about 20 centimeters long pieces. To do it quicker, I wrap the yarn around the book multiple times and then cut it in one place. I take one piece at a time and create lark's head knot around the ring. Make sure to always put them through in the same direction and tighten. Once the whole ring is covered, I push all the loose strings back through the hole. It will give this hat more realistic look with the band around at the bottom. I take small part of the filling from my pillow and push it inside the hat. I take one more piece of yarn and wrap it around, giving the right shape of the hat. To create the gnome head, I will be using pom-pom maker, but you can easily do it without it. For this part, I've chosen white yarn. I wrap the first part of the pom-pom maker, then other one. I put it together and cut the yarn all around the maker. I secure it with piece of yarn and remove the pom-pom maker. I give the final shape to the pom-pom and then using hot glue I attach it to the hat. For my gnome's nose, I'm gluing wooden bead. You can pull the string through the hats to create garland or just decorate your table or bookshelves with them. For this project, you have to find glass container which you want to use. I start with measuring how big piece of clay I will need. I take the circuit of this glass and its height, but I don't actually measure how tall it is. I measure where I want the top of the roof to finish. If you want, you can go all the way to the top. I take a big piece of air dry clay and roll it out flat. I try to roll it to rectangle shape as this is what I need for this project. I cut one edge straight and then make the exact shape I want. I move it onto the glass and connect two ends together. I use my fingers and damp sponge to make it smooth. I take the pointy tool from my clay tool kit and start designing the house's shapes. I make the walls, roof, windows, sometimes doors and chimney as well. To make it more interesting, I make each house slightly different. Once the whole piece of clay is designed with the houses, I can start cutting out the parts which I don't need. I leave the house walls and start cutting where the roof starts. I dip the end of the knife in the water for smoother cuts. Then I move to the windows and doors. Before I leave it to dry, I want to make it as smooth and clean as I can. For the bigger surface, I use damp sponge. For windows, I dip paintbrush in the water and go along the edges. I also try to make the glass clean, as this is easier to do now than later. I leave it in the original color clay, as painting it might be very tricky with these all smaller windows. To make old felt pieces the same size, I start with creating the template. Each tree will be 8 cm high and 6 cm wide. I draw the triangle shape on the cardboard and cut it out. You can of course make them bigger or smaller. With the corners, I want them to be rounder. It will make it easy to sew and also looks better. I'm going with 3 different shades of green felt. I will make 5 trees, so I have to decide how many shapes in each color I need. I place my template flat on the felt fabric and draw the lines around it. For each tree, I will need 2 shapes. I mark it with the pen, which of course leave dark lines. I just have to remember to put this side of the fabric inside the tree. I've cut out 10 triangle shapes to create 5 trees. Using brown felt, I've also cut out small trunks. I start with the first tree. I take 2 pieces of felt and start sewing them together using blanket stitch. I've created few other projects using felt fabric and this sewing technique. I will leave the links to them down below. Blanket stitch is a pretty stitch used around the edge of the fabric. I take a green thread on needle and push it through both fabrics from the back. I pull it till small loop appears and then put the needle through it and pull again. I try to keep the same distance between each stitch and also don't go too low with it. Once I reach the bottom, I glue the trunk to the rest of the tree using Mod Podge. Then I move to the other side of the trunk and continue the blanket stitch. Through the small hole, I fill my tree with the filling from the pillow. I take small parts at a time and push them gently in. Once it's full and cushiony, I close it up. Once all 5 trees are ready, I'm putting them together into garland. I have jute yarn and few wooden beads. I put alternating tree and bead. It looks great on the fireplace, but it will also look pretty on the doors or wall. You can make it as long as you want with the tree size tailored to your preferences. My candle holder will be created out of few separate pieces of clay. I start with the bottom plate. I take a piece of air dry clay and roll it out flat to the same thickness. Take any item which you will be able to create perfect circle with. It has to be slightly bigger than you want your candle holder bottom to be. I take this small plastic bowl and cut out the circle. Again, you can create a wall by adding extra piece of clay around, or like me, just raise the edge of the circle. The wall can't be too high as the clay is soft and will collapse before it gets dry. As you can see, I also keep holding this wall when I try to smooth it out. I roll out another piece of clay and cut out the rectangle shape out of it. Take the candle you are going to place in your new candle holder and wrap this piece of clay around it. This will give you the rough idea on how wide it has to be. Don't press too hard and keeping in mind that air dry clay shrinks when drying. And then just simply connect two ends together by tapping them. To add some Christmassy detail on it, I cut out the star shape. To connect two separate pieces of clay together, it's always good to make few cuts on them and wet with water. To make the connection stronger between the dish and the part for the candle, I wrap thin roll of clay around it and then press it and smooth it so it looks like one piece. For the more vintage look, I've also adding small handle to my candle holder. Very similar process, I just make thin roll, then wrap it and attach to the other part. As I mentioned before, I'm going for more vintage look and I also want to try the new technique. So to paint my candle holder, I've decided to use coffee. Stronger coffee you make, then darker color you will get. Because it's very watery, which makes clay slightly soft again, make sure to leave it to dry before applying another coat. Painting with coffee is almost like using watercolors. I know this project was already done by the Sorry Girls, but I have my plan for Christmas projects done months ago and this doormat was on it. I love the Sorry Girls, but I felt just disappointed when I saw that they already done it first. I didn't give up as I want this mat so badly for my home, so I'm going to create my version of it today. I've got my plain doormat from TK Maxx. It's slightly too wide for my preferences, so I'm going to cut it from the sides. This doormat will be in the shape of gingerbread house. Using Sharpie, I mark the places I want to cut it. The first mistake is that I should really mark it on the other side of the mat. The rubber side is much easier to cut than the front. As you can see, I've struggled with cutting it from the front. I've also used scissors, which were alright but quite painful to use. So at the end, I've done the lines on the other side and cut it with knife. Painting on this kind of doormat is quite tricky. It's of course not a smooth surface and it's hard to create nice and straight lines. Masking tape comes very helpful in this situation. I tape it along the edge of my gingerbread house and also in the middle to create a small roof above the doors. My doormat is going to stay inside the house, but I still want it to be very durable. So for this project, I would recommend using acrylic paint for the outdoor, something what won't wash off so easily. I think the best way to paint it is by tapping the brush down. If you want to do it like normal painting, the paint splashes and goes everywhere, so tapping is much better option. For the roof, I've decided to add some twist and paint it in a different color. I'm using much wider brush as the surface to paint is quite big. Before you decide to recreate this idea, I would recommend to draw your design on a piece of paper first. Also measure the mat and divide it into equal sections so the whole gingerbread house looks more neat and symmetrical. Because of the old details, this project is quite time consuming, so you can easily watch some movie or listen to Christmas music while doing it. I'm really happy how it turned out. I'm glad I've added some extra color which gives more of the Christmas vibe. This project is super quick and easy but gives the effect which you wouldn't expect. To create one stars, you will need 8 wooden washing pegs. I take them all apart. You can keep the metal parts for some other projects or throw them away. Wooden finish will give the star more of the Scandi/boho style. So this is how the peg looked like before. Now I'm going to turn it and glue bags together. I'm using hot glue which is strong enough to hold it and cures quickly. My 8 parts are ready now and I have to glue them together into star shape. I start with 4 at first and then add another 4 in between. This way I created 1 star, but for my whole decoration I want to glue 2 of them together so it looks fuller. You can spray paint them to your favorite color or leave them sauté as I did. I only added some greenery and small red pom-poms. They are great as a table decoration or as a hanging pieces. I've created few honeycomb decorations on this channel already, including Christmas bubble. However, this trick is so good so I want to share it with you. Instead of cutting circle shape out of paper, I will be using cupcake forms. I've paid £1 for 150 of them. All I do is folding each case in half. It's slightly tricky as the shape is not a perfect circle, but that's not a problem. I just try to match the edge together. Now I open each one of them, and using hot glue I make straight line of glue only on the half of the case and on its middle. I'm using hot glue, which makes the process quicker. Once the individual cases are glued in the middle, now I can attach all of them together. This time I make 2 lines of glue, one on the top and one on the bottom. I have to be careful with the glue not to drop any of it onto unwanted parts, as it might ruin the whole construction and the idea of honeycomb pattern. I glue one part at a time, making sure they are all nice and neat. You can use as many paper cases as you want, it just depending how full you want your bubble to be. But more you put, then less visible the honeycomb pattern might become. To be able to hang it from the tree, I'm adding some string and glue it. You can also glue the whole side. Last 2 lines of the glue and I can close the bubble. Because my cupcake cases have 2 different colors inside and outside, I've decided to make another version. This time I fold them so the outside part of the case is now inside the half circle. And then I do the rest exactly the same way. Let me know in the comment section which project was your favorite, or maybe you've seen them before and you actually recreated. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more Christmas DIY ideas. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next video.